Fireman, yeah, fireman. Fireman.
Kaboom! Bang! And a bang! Yes, I are Rastafari greeting. Can I see your lion paw? Yes, I are lion paw inside the house. And once again, I know for the fact, Nobana, you are very ready and you are still fit and healthy against the coronavirus out there. And stay strong and make sure we are umhlonyana and lift up once again the ISIS unto His Imperial Majesty once again. As I said, it is the month of the Prophet. Everyone knows it inside the Rastafari families. And we know that Marcus Mosiah Garvey, we uplift to the highest level. And it is Marcusai to the Bobo, Shandy out there. We are, yeah man, we say we maximally uplift, definitely, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And this day, of course, on Umlilo Fire Talks, we are not definitely going to be failing Marcus Garvey because we do have on our line, definitely, the mothers out there, and definitely, I've got Sister Anella upon the line, I've got also Umama, definitely Nomalanga, and yes, of course, we will be reasoning with Thandolwethu Mosiah Garvey, Sipuye, and of course, we've got Driss. Yes, I, the fire lion. And this time of an hour, they're already there, pan. And may I say, lion paw, my brethren, to the highest level. Rastafari greetings, ancients. My leader, Garvey, Dayazi Dada, Indogokbana, Kwelkesha Sikulo, a lot of people have read out of your blog, but I personally know Indogokbana Garvey has been inspired much more, but not only about Steve Biko, but Marcus Mosiah Garvey, especially Glonyanga, see celebrate, and not only celebrate, but I would say we are definitely attributing to the Prophet, especially within the Rastafari families. When Garvey, my leader, you would be putting your own levels. But now, how do you basically put and connect Marcus Garvey, I would say, as a prophet towards the life of Rastafari liberty in South Africa itself? On your take, Garvey.
Well, Fireman, you know, first of all, Marcus Garvey, Fireman, is the greatest black man ever lived in the 20th century. And in fact, one of the founding documents of INA in the Rastafari movement, the Holy Pidi, which was published in the early 1920s by the prophet Rogers Attili, he said, and Marcus Garvey was an apostle of the black race. So for Ayman, you know, also here in Azania, in South Africa, I could also say that for us, even who were inspired by the Honorable Marcus Garvey, for us, Garvey remains the greatest prophet, the greatest man that has ever lived. He carried a message of redemption and total liberation and emancipation for black people of the world. And so this is how I and I also relate to Garvey. And like you've rightfully said, Marcus Garvey not only inspired us within the Rastafari movement, but all the liberation movements of the world, wherever black people are, were inspired by Marcus Garvey. In America, you've got the Black Panthers. In the African continent, you had movements such as the ANC, which had the founding fathers of the ANC who were Garveyites. You had organizations such as the PAC, who came and said, Africa for Africans, Africans for humanity, and humanity for God. And you have the Black Consciousness Movement. But you also go throughout many other places in the continent. In Kenya, people like Jomo Kenyatta were inspired by Marcus Garvey. Hence, you see the Kenyan flag has got the colors of the red, the black, and the green. You go to Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah was inspired by Marcus Garvey. Hence, you see the black star sign on the symbol of the Ghanaian flag. So this is why I'm saying that Marcus Garvey has been the greatest inspiration for black people of the world who are crying out for justice and total emancipation from white supremacy.
Garvey, Dada, as you put it, it is one who now start to but on that note, my lord, I really say once again, I salute that, you know, but bringing in now the man Driss, Driss, I know Dada on the level, and I salute on the red, gold, and green leader. I know for the fact that Marcus Garvey, as Garvey has put it, has inspired a lot of people around the world. But most importantly, the Rastafari, I would say, community, I would like to call it Rastafari, not just nation, but the Rastafari, I would say one would call it now worldwide, has been inspired by the philosophies of Marcus Garvey. On your take, in South Africa, in Cape Town, what would you put, especially that has been connection, or should I say the inspiration from Marcus Garvey?
Greetings, brethren. Yes, the self-reliance and the self-determination and the self-will of Africans that Marcus Garvey came and taught and demonstrated and mentioned many times when he addressed his crowd, because he was an eloquent spokesperson, and he had all the leadership ability to be able to mobilize Africans that was dispersed in the West. I mean, he comes from Jamaica, and he saw that it will only be strategic for him to go to the West, to go to the US, for him to better spread his message of African redemption and of because one must keep in mind that Marcus Garvey was very much industrial in his ways, in terms of establishing a printing press, establishing and inspiring Black people, African Americans, to establish businesses. Marcus Garvey himself was also very well traveled. I mean, he went to China, he went to many other countries to establish relationships, trade relationships. So he was definitely a beacon for Africans at home here to also participate in business, participate in the economy of I mean, back at the time when the West was free, people in the West were able to access information.
Garvey is, I would say, not just only inspired within, I would say, Mzansi, or should I say within Cape Town. It has actually done this around the world. But I know for a fact, due to these times and these limited hours, my leader, I want you basically now to come up with a message in this, I would say, seconds that we have. What message do you think that as a Rastafari community you have taken out of Marcus Garvey, especially noting that this month is a month where Rastafari celebrate Marcus Garvey and also the mothers themselves?
Well, we've got Marcus Garvey community, the tabernacle here in Cape Town, and that is a testimony for, and also an example for us in terms of having to establish ourselves at home, to better link with the ones that's abroad, Africans that's abroad, that's waiting to come home, and how we at home here need to make sure that we pave a way for those Africans that's aspiring to come home. So, Marcus Garvey means a lot to us here in Africa as a whole. I know. Think the message we must take, the message we must take from Garvey is the importance and for us as Africans at home to make sure that we participate in the whole process of repatriation and the restoration of the African continent.
My leader, on that note, I thank you. And I know that Garvey, I've got a little, I would say, time, Dada. I want to have your message basically on this one.
Well, my brethren, without taking much time, but it is the message of, self-love. To say that as African people, we ought to love ourselves, but also as African people of the world, we ought to have self-determination, be able to do things for ourselves. Let us be industrious and establish industries and businesses for ourselves. And also let us be able to establish our own African-centered governments and approaches to rule our lives as Black people of the world.
I can see Driss actually also noting there with the head, and definitely no doubt, leader, I am actually on the highest level agreeing with that same note. And Garvey, once again, I want to say maximum respect to you, my Lord, as well as Driss, my King, for all the words, sound and power we uttered in this time of an hour. Surely, no doubt, they've inspired, I would say, the African nation out there, Pan. To that level, I would say maximum respect, Dada.
Give thanks, I know.
Selassie, I.
God, one destiny.
One aim, one destiny, one Africa.
Magwande.
man.
Yes, I. Fire blaze, non-stop. If you don't know, you better know it. Yes, I.
Fireman, heat fireman. Fireman, heat fireman. Fireman.
Kaboom, bang, and a bang. Yes. Once again, I want to say, yes, I and I, wherever Ed Kuyo, you better understand we are still running forward. And of course, we are coming from reasoning with Mosiah Garvey, as well as with Driss, giving us actually some fruitful, one would have called it, one would say food of thought, food of knowledge, of course, when it comes to Marcus Mosiah Garvey's inspiration, not only, I would say, in South Africa, but around the world towards the black families and the black mothers and fathers, of course. Righteously, right now, I'm looking forward. I'm going to be turning, actually, the side towards the sisters, actually. And this time of an hour is actually one of the well-known, of course, I think True FM has actually put her as on the top 10. She is the top 3 when it comes to reggae music. So I know that she's the top 3 when it comes to reggae music, True FM top 10, and she's got a beautiful song, definitely, with Sister Anella. And just check it out, Sister Anella and KSG. You are the Don, no doubt. Sister Anella, at this time of an hour, sikunye nawe once again ku Umlilo Fire Talks. Ndiyayazi into okubana ke abantu abaninzi abakothuki apha Cape Town bayakwazi wena, but reasoning kunye nathi ke ngoku on this time of an hour, sister, ingaba ke mhlawumbi xa sinothetha no Sister Anella kule nyanga yomama eMzantsi Afrika, kule nyanga kaMarcus Garvey within the Rastafari family, Sister Anella kanye uziva njani namhlanje?
Molweni bethunana, Anella Jamina, ndingathi mna Rasta ngale nyanga ndiziva ndingakwazi ucelebrate. Ndithi Happy Women's Month, no, andikwazi. Inobangela yinto ukubana andiqondi into ukubana even i-victories or i-achievements esizenzileyo ngaphambili singabantu abangomama emzabalazweni zinalo utshintsho ezilwenzileyo koomama banamhlanje. Ewe kona siye sakwazi uba nge-1956 siwine i-battle ye-pass laws, siwine i-forcefulment yokusebenzisa i-pass laws as abantu abangomama. Kodwa after la march, many women went back to their homes, to their poor levity, to their poor conditions of living, in the back rooms or domains of maids. You know what? The other half of those women went back to the world of corporates, world of their businesses, forgetting the struggle of those women who they're fighting with in the common, with the common goal of ending pass laws towards women. So for that matter, I cannot celebrate. For that matter, I cannot celebrate because the struggle of women still continues, even in 2020. So it should not be a thing of one day, 1 month, but it should be a daily thing that is looked onto, that women have been struggling and are struggling for their voices to be heard. And that has not happened.
When a mama it should be a 24/7, 365 days, righteously, an upliftment of umama. Sister Anella, ndiyabulela on that note, and I hope into okubana ke nomnye umama out there, especially okwi leadership, especially up in Mzantsi Africa, will start to realize that there are still other mothers who are still actually crying out there for definitely what you call it is that obubuncwane ngokubutyiwa ngabanye abantu. But moving forward, Mama, I know for a fact into okubana, as I said, xa sivula up into okubana you are number 3 kwi-top 10 xa ndijonga phaya ku-Black Malaki enqinisekisa kuyo i-top 10 yaka-True FM, and phambi kwakho unumber 2 nguJanet Tafari, izokuba ngubongo Riot unumber 1 as the reggae artist. Wena kwicala le-reggae music as a female reggae artist, what can you say, especially kuthethwa kule nyanga yomama, as Anella having actually your music in this particular, I would say, radio station that is put it actually on the top 3, may I put it?
And what I would say is I'm very much honored and very much grateful for the support that I've been receiving from the masses, from the fans, from everybody like who has been listening. I've been getting really great responses from my Facebook to my WhatsApp, people calling me saying, Anella, we are very proud of you, women, you know, in the Rasta movement also, because there's something that I've at some points, I sometimes say, I sometimes denounce myself being a Rasta woman at some point, because there is a deliberate attempt to silence the voice of the Rasta woman. Mama Mazo did an event last year, I think around about this time, where she was speaking about amplifying, about, you know, increasing the volume of the voice of the Rasta woman. Because Rastafari, the movement on its own, has got its own principles, have got its own rules and regulations. But some of those principles, the women within the movement challenging as somewhat oppressive towards them, and because the women voice in Rastafari is not really recognized and it's not really out there for people to hear. So when I stand on stage, when I sing my music, I'm not only representing women with dreadlocks, women who are artists, but I'm representing the rest of the Rasta women who are in the movement, who have a voice, but that voice is being silenced. So I would like to I like to think of myself as a representation of all the different women you will find in the world, in the movement as well.
Respect, Mama. And this
Yes,
takes
sir.
us actually that you are not only basically a person that tends to share, I would say, the values of Rastafari only, but also on the level basically that you are also engaging with other artists, because you are within the movements of artists basically where you still voice out basically what you call it, the challenges that women have. And this time of an hour, I know for many people will talk about the SOS that you are busy actually sharing much more. But tell us more about I would say the collective works that you are in, and definitely the kind of contribution that you are contributing within that collective.
I had the fortunacy of being part of what you call a reggae cohesion or a reggae community. And within that community, I had a few things. I think me and you met in Durban, where we were underlining, you know, the participation of women that is not really visible within the industry. That women in the industry have to sell themselves on a sexual level in order for them to be heard or to be noticed or to be regarded as the same level as male counterparts in the music. And also with Sounds of the South, we have a space we call Rebel Sister Cyber. It's really an educational platform where we use the music as a tool to actually find and develop alternatives to fighting this ideology that women need to be under some sort of control, that women cannot really shine on their own, that women cannot really independently think for themselves or be for themselves, and that we want to embrace the different levels of women that do exist in our communities. We have mothers, we have sisters, we have brothers who are not really entirely Rasta women. And we need to also practice tolerance. That is what the space is about. You know, promoting tolerance amongst women. That really, you might wear short skirts and you might wear long skirts, you might wear non-boo whatsoever, but that does not really necessarily mean we are different. It just needs us to embrace those differences so that we may continue in the struggle for the women liberation.
Mama, it's actually, one would say, full, actually, I would say, message for the young ones that are still rising up there. And I don't want to take much of Uno time, especially this time of year, because we are still going to be unleashing the Ubuntu Gem, where you were actually also blazing fire. It was still in this month of August. We want to remind people what you were saying to the nation, actually, striving, actually, once again, to remind them that we can still break out those boundaries out there. Once again, Sister Anella, we say maximum respect to you. And I know that you want to say something to the little sister down there. What will be your message to the little sister?
None of them don't love you. They see the fire burning within, the one and kill him slowly. You better rise like the phoenix from the ashes. Spit the tongues of fire so the wicked may be scattered. Lyrically, she lures your attention, call a fisherman. Her spiritual sounds catch you off guard, hook, line, and sinker. Real rocker woman. Don't fucking mess it down for no Zina. She's the mother of boys, true strength and resilience. Oh, watch a massive show of love. Hear the people call her name. None of them don't love you. They see the fire burning within, they wanna kill it slowly. You better rise like the phoenix from the ashes. Spit the tongues of fire so the wicked may be scattered. So that's the word I'm leaving to the people out there, to the women out there. That you have a fire burning within. You just let it out. Yes, I.
Lion paw, Mama. On that note, we're just gonna say lion paw, raw as a lioness.
Fireman, eat fireman. Fireman, fireman, eat fireman. Fireman.
Jah Rastafari, King Selassie the first and forevermore. What a powerful reasoning that we did manage to get. And of course, yes, I know for the fact I did actually mention that we will be basically reasoning with Umamu Nomalanga. For that note, I know Ndizamugutke Sizamile Kumbamba, but due to technicalities, kuba siqala nathi apha kumlilo siza kuzibamba na kanjani kuvekezayo sibe nokuhlala kunye naye phansi sibe nokureasona on the highest level. Righteously, right now, ndiyayazi into kokubana ke nawe wena apho eghetto ulindile into kokubana wazi into kokubana what will be taking place, and ndiyayazi into kokubana ke we have seen Mosiah Garvey, Driss, Fireisha ke, as well as Sister Anella. Some powerful, definitely ke, musical video besijongibanga is about sibethela kamnandi. It is Ubuntu from Sister Anella, and check it out. Ndiyayazi ukuthi sonke apha emakhaya siyawuthanda Umlilo Fire Talks, and kwaye ke ndiyaqinisekisa to the Rastafari families and definitely to the ones massive as a Cape Town as well as around the world internationally. We say to you, keep it tight. You are the people's channel, remember.
My mind was thinking, what about before? What was so different about before and now and after today? I think it's the fact that abantu bakuthi back then, they stood together despite, no matter how they stood together and they fought for something. And today, at least we have something as not the freedom, but it's still not enough. Because in our communities, we are not safe. As a man, even as a woman, you're not safe. Because you can't walk outside of your door, or you know, because we've been taught to believe that it's our fault to attending into drugs, into substance abuse as a comfort. But I believe otherwise, because I think there is a deliberate attempt to keep abantu in the ghettos and to keep abantu in the ghettos destructive, you know. Even singabantu abangakwazi ucinga, but siyakwazi ucinga singabantu. We love each other. That's the first and foremost thing. And that Ubuntu has been taken away from us because we are busy seeking riches. So I just wrote this song and said, it's almost like a pledge, you know, that will be burning down those bridges. They come us in slums of death and poverty escalate. Burn down the bridges of all oppression on stand. They dump us in slums of death and poverty escalate. We burn them alive. All gatekeepers of the capitalist system. We're ready to die. We will take to the streets and face our dispossessor. Oh, 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 oh. Roma, Amanda, nowhere to. We will take to the streets and face our dispossessor. For the sake of the young world, for the sake of the future. Kids that civilize our minds are starved. The weak man and let who we bound to be. Souls are deprived. Careful living at your mental status, caught in chains, but this hate so set to them to be. Fighting for change, but their minds have been demonized. Poisoned by the devil's wicked vibes. Self-liberation is a must, so is your conjugation. With education is the power to see. With the strength, him in the system, in the Titanic ship we won't see. Him in the system, in the Titanic ship we won't see. We'll just see. Oh, burn up the bridges of all oppression and stay. They dump us in slums where death and poverty escalates. We burn on the bridges of all oppression and stay. Ready to die. We will take to the streets.